In this video I'm going to review the dining options on board Marella Discovery 2. I'll be reviewing the buffet, the main dining rooms, the counter service options and also the specialty dining restaurant Surf and Turf. And I'll let you know if those scathing online reviews are justified or is it just pure clickbait. And I'm going to start off in the Islands Buffet, which is located on deck 8 at the very front of the ship. This was actually the first time I'd ever been on a ship that had a buffet at the front, and here it's well laid out with stations wide apart so there's no queuing and there's also ample seating. So I'm going to start off with the best meal of the day, and that's breakfast. There's fresh fruit available along with muffins, croissants and pastries. And there's slices of different varieties of cheese, cold meat and salmon. And fresh bread rolls available too. There's a good choice of cereals, more fresh fruit, fruit cocktails and even prunes. And there's muesli, parfait and yoghurt. The hot choices start with hash browns, baked beans and fried bread. And there are sausages, bacon and fried eggs too. And there are boiled eggs, scrambled eggs and mushrooms. And a herby sausage was today's special. And there's pancakes and maple syrup. There's white and brown toast along with honey, jam and marmalade. And the fresh omelette station will always be one of my favourite options for breakfast. I can't actually believe I forgot to take a video of my omelette. And there's a good choice of teas and coffees available. Although for me, you just can't beat a cup of Yorkshire tea. Overall, the breakfast was pretty good and the highlight was the herby sausages. The lunch menu starts off with quiche and a selection of fresh bread, which was still warm and smelled absolutely fantastic. And there's also slices of pork pie and serrano ham and a salad bar too, which features sweet corn, grated cheese and chopped egg, onions, carrots, cucumbers, tomato and lettuce. And now I'll show you the hot options. There's a hot chicken, brie and jam baguette, gravy and fish pie. There's lamb moussaka, naan bread and cauliflower tikka masala. And vegetables, roast potato, chips and rice. The carving station was always a popular spot, where the meat's either served in a bap or you can take it and create your own roast dinner. There's freshly cut red Leicester, Wensleydale and provolone cheese to go with crackers. And fresh fruit, orange panna cotta and strawberry cake. And there's meringue fruit nest, chocolate cake and almond torte. And as Marella is an all-included cruise line, you can help yourself to ciders, beers and wines. And of course there's plenty of non-alcoholic options too. I'll give this no points for presentation, but that's all on me. I decided to go for the lamb moussaka and the fish pie. And although it looks like a bit of a weird combination, both dishes were actually really flavoursome. And for dessert I went with the orange panna cotta and the meringue fruit nest, both of which were very nice too. And each day between 3 and 5 there's afternoon tea. Here you can find a good selection of filled sandwiches, croissants and rolls. And there's jam and clotted cream to go with the scones, or are they scones, and also sausage rolls. And for dessert there's Victoria sponge, cakes and profiteroles. I think that the afternoon tea on Marella ships are one of the highlights of my time on board. And you must try the sausage rolls. This is the dinner service, starting off with potato salad, tomato and mozzarella salad and creamy coleslaw. And there's slices of roast beef, potted ham and piccadilly. A good selection of breads along with oregano roast potatoes and sprouts and pancetta. Pesto vegetables, spinach and ricotta lasagna, seafood and tomato spaghetti, garlic bread, penny pasta, meatballs and pork and polenta ragu are also available. And this evening's carvery option is a roast sirloin of beef and Yorkshire pudding. And there's chips, gravy and a selection of vegetables, along with that fantastic fish pie and yet more gravy, and chips and cottage pie. And for dessert you can choose from a cheese board and sweet treats such as a cherry bar, lemon torte and chocolate mousse. At the rear of deck 4 is 47 degrees, the largest of the main dining rooms on board the ship, and is open for breakfast, lunch on sea days and for dinner. So I'll be starting off with breakfast. There's plenty of hot and cold options, and there's also a daily special too. We started off with toast and some jam, some orange juices and some bircher muesli, which to be fair tasted far better than it looked. As it was a Saturday, we both went with a special, which was the French toast with cinnamon sugar and the eggs Florentine. Unfortunately, both of the eggs were overcooked, but it was still a fairly decent breakfast. And next was lunch. The menu isn't particularly extensive, but there was still plenty of choice. For my starter, I decided to go for the chef salad, which was lovely and fresh, while my other half went with a green pea and mint soup that she really enjoyed. For my main course, I went with a gourmet fish pie. It was nice and contained large chunks of white fish, but it didn't really need the chips. I would have preferred some more vegetables. While my other half went with a turkey feast sandwich. And the pear and cranberry relish really elevated this because it could have been quite dry. And for dessert we shared the sky high lemon meringue pie, which was actually really tasty. Dress to Impress nights are a far more casual affair on Marella Cruises than on some other cruise lines. And it does mean that all three main dining rooms all have the same menu. And as you can see, the menu itself was definitely elevated, but if you wanted to splash out, there were 3 items which did incur an additional charge. For my starter, I went with the melon and parma ham, while my other half went with the classic French onion soup. For her main course, she went with the Angus beef Wellington, which was perfectly cooked, and the roast potatoes were light and fluffy. While I chose the tagliatelle with prawns and courgette and a zesty lemon and white wine sauce. This really was something quite special. As always on Marella, the service was fantastic, and it wasn't too long until the dessert menu was brought out. And I just had to choose this wonderful sugar-free choux swan. For me, Dress to Impress night was a huge success. The second of the main dining rooms is Gallery 47 on the right hand side of deck 5, and this is the Italian restaurant. If like me you're somebody that really likes Italian food, then you really can't go wrong here. The menu is fantastic. And you can also order Italian wines, cocktails and liqueurs. And out first was the olives, oil and bread service. For starters we went with the melon and parma ham and the caprese salad. These classic Italian dishes were the perfect way to start our meal. For the main course we went with pan-fried cod with plum tomatoes, garlic and herb sauce on green beans. And the cod was perfectly cooked and lovely and flaky. And the lasagna came with a slice of garlic bread. And the lasagna was delicious with a lovely rich flavour. And for our desserts we went with a trio of tiramisu and the Italian cheese plate, both of which were fantastic and a great way to end this amazing meal. Piccadillis is the brand new British inspired third main dining room, and it's situated on deck 5 opposite the Italian. and I'll leave a link here to the video that explains both of the menus that are available at Piccadilly's. And this is menu B, which I did slightly prefer over menu A. And while most of the dishes are included within your cruise fare, there are 3 mains and 1 dessert which do come at an extra charge. Out first was the bread service, which consisted of spinach, beetroot and seeded rolls, and the butters were roast garlic, salt and pepper and Marmite. For our starters, we went with a smoked haddock and leek pasty, which both looked and smelled absolutely fantastic. And this is the chicken or the egg, which is a crispy hen's egg on top of chicken terrine, which exploded across my plate as I cut into it. But despite that, the food itself tasted wonderful. The chippy was beer battered whiting, steak cut chips and a pea fritter. The choice of whiting for the fish did seem a little odd because it's not something you would get in a chippy back at home, and the portion wasn't particularly big either. But the star of the show was the Arthur Duke pastry duo that could have easily fed 4 instead of 2. You get 2 slices of each pie along with roasted potato, root vegetables, seasoned greens and gravy. Firstly, I went for the pulled beef and mushroom puff pastry crown, which was perfect with the deliciously rich gravy. Before trying the pork, apple and apricot Wellington, which was probably my favourite of the 2. Although to be fair, it was a pretty close run thing. The Jaffa orange cake tasted, well, just like a Jaffa cake. Overall, this was a really good meal and it was nice to have an additional restaurant on board the ship. Towards the rear of the ship on deck 9 is the indoor pool and the glass house, which offers counter service food for breakfast, lunch and late night and a sit down dinner. For breakfast there's a choice of filled muffins, ham and cheese bites, fresh fruit and muesli, along with a decent choice of croissants, pastries, muffins and crumpets. And there are sausage and bacon baps, croissants and muesli. I chose a sausage and a bacon bap which were then warmed in the oven behind the counter. Now I put tomato sauce on both, but do you like yours with tomato, brown or no sauce at all? Please let me know in the comments below. For lunch there's a choice of salads, coleslaw and filled paninis. Roast chicken cut into pieces and was still warm, and there's also pizza too. The salami and cheese panini was really tasty, and the pizza and chicken were both very good. The chicken was just so nice and moist. There's also a fresh pasta station where the pasta dish of your choice will be created in front of you. It's just down to you to choose your pasta and your sauce. I chose the rigatoni carbonara. And the pasta of course was perfectly cooked al dente. Now the Glass House does offer a Mediterranean style sit down menu in the evenings. But unfortunately on my sailing there just wasn't enough time to fit this in. Although I did manage to go for the late night snack. There's deep fried jalapeno peppers and beef vindaloo to really get those taste buds tingling. And after a great night watching the entertainment and having a few drinks, it was now time for a burger. Which in all fairness was pretty good, but I could have done with a few more chips. But overall the food in the Glass House was pretty good. If you're looking for a quick bite to eat by poolside or in one of these colourful huts, then the Snack Shack is the place to go. And you've got 2 options here for your food. There's a grab and go area and there's counter service. At the counter they have sweet chilli chicken wings, fish and chips and macaroni cheese. And this is a great place to come to grab a poolside burger or hot dog. and there are also cookies and brownies available too. It was a shame that instead of being one large fillet, the fish was in small pieces. However, it still tasted really good and the batter was nice and crunchy. And while the burger here was perfectly okay, the one in the glass house was just that bit better. And the grab and go section has a choice of fresh salads, filled wraps and sandwiches. And while the complimentary food on board the ship was great, I decided to splash out and have a meal at the Surf and Turf Steakhouse, which is located towards the front of the ship on deck 11. It's recommended if you'd like to dine here to book a reservation. Ours was very early, so we were quickly seated and the menus brought out. I was really impressed with the options available. The hardest thing was to choose exactly what I was going to have. Out first was the bread service. The bread was still warm and it went perfectly with the sea salted butter. For our starters, we went with a turf sharing board for two and a deep fried chicken bouquet. And the chicken came with a tangy honey mustard sauce. The sharing board consisted of pork crackling, mini pork ribs and honey mustard chipolata sausages. And it was served with barbecue and whole grain mustard sauce. We all decided to have a little bit of everything and it was a great start to the meal. There were 3 of us dining and we did spend a lot of time umming and ahhing about what we'd like for our sides. So our fabulous waitress Miriam just said to us, "Leave with me, I'll bring you one of everything." In my experience, the crews on Marella are absolutely fantastic. They really go out of their way to make sure that you have a fantastic cruise. As I was in the Surf and Turf Steakhouse, I decided to go for the Surf and Turf as my main meal, which was the fillet of Angus beef and the grilled half lobster tail, both of which were cooked to absolute perfection. I really wish I was eating this now. My other half went for the butcher special, consisting of a beef short rib, lamb cutlet, filet mignon and a black pudding. Thankfully, I left just enough space for dessert. There's also a dessert cocktails and coffees menu. We'd left just enough space for dessert, so we went with the lemon tasting board, the triple chocolate sundae and the apple tart. And it was the perfect way to finish an absolutely fantastic meal. If you're thinking about paying a little extra for a specialty meal, then I can't recommend Surf and Turf enough. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. There'll be lots more cruise videos to come.